Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I probably fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. I got a very special guest for you guys today. I'm going to bring him up in a minute. He's got extensive experience from all across the board in the industry as a driver, C-suite executive for one of the largest trucking companies out there. And we're just going to talk about some of the realities of the industry. But before I do that, you guys, as always, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And we all enjoy making money as well, because that's what you get with VHub is you can jump on there, you can get one of their trailers, and you get paid to move them. So what they have going right now, you guys, is they have some trailers out in San Bernardino, California, needing to go over to Columbus, Ohio. And then we also have, let me see here. We have San Diego, California, going out into Forest Park, Georgia, and you get $990 for that trailer. And then you also get that for the San Bernardino to Columbus. And then they also have San Diego to Channahon, Illinois, and you get $620 US to do that. And those are all 53-foot swing door drive-ins, you guys. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My man, Zach Lonergan and Stacy Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Flo, good morning. Tony, good morning. I appreciate you, brother. Michael, good morning to you. Let's go. Bill McIntyre, let's get it, my man. Tracy St. Clair over on YouTube, good morning. Stephen Title, good morning, everyone. Time for the real news. That is right. Sonny Sharma, Orange Shirt Gang, let's go. Corey Buchanan, good morning to you as well. All right. Without further ado, I got to bring my good friend Dave Abels back up on the show to break some down. What's up, man? How are you?
I am doing very, very well, man. Thanks for having me on here. It's an excellent week to talk about truck driving because it's Driver Appreciation Week. So I'm looking forward to today's topics and just appreciate being here, man. I catch you as much as I can. You know, I'm out in the field a lot, but at the same time, love to listen to you. And if I don't see you live, I try to catch you up throughout the day. Love your LinkedIn post. And really, man, I think you said it all. This is a real show with real people. And we have real opinions that are typically fact-based, right? Everybody's got their spin on things, but this is the place to see it and learn it.
Hey, man. And it's true, right? Because it's like when you're out there and you're the one making the decision on a pricing strategy inside of your organization, all of the opinions and stuff that can be out there in the media, I'm not saying that they're not valid, but they don't exactly correlate into like the execution phase of actually doing the job, right? And that's where a lot of people are is, you know, and then frankly, a lot of the headlines and stuff that are out there have everything to do with like the larger carriers, right? Because, you know, it's more of the, hey, this is the earnings from this company and everything else. But and why I break those articles down and why there's so much value in there is because I think it's completely applicable whether you have 1,000 trucks in your fleet or 10 trucks in your fleet. The strategy is kind of the same.
I agree 100%, Chris. We talked about that before we jumped on today. And, you know, a lot of my customers, there's a wide variety from a 50 truck carrier, 500 truck carrier, 3,000 truck carrier. And really, I try to explain to them that your strategy is all the same, whether it's watered down a little bit based on your size. But the reality of it is the hustle, right? We got to hustle, whether you got 3,000 trucks or you got 50 trucks, you got to hustle to win new opportunities. To your point, you got to price it right. To price it right isn't just understanding the market. It's understanding your cost and what you need as well. And I think that's where many carriers go wrong, is they don't really understand what it is that they need to have out of that lane to net the yield they need, let's say both in and out of an area, and they grab a rate that they see off of a tool or something, and it doesn't get them in. Well, really, they might have been able to go 5 cents cheaper than what that rate was, but they didn't think about the big picture. What's the next 4 or 5 movements on that truck? And if you've got that laid out, then something that fits in the middle, you may be able to do at a more competitive rate than your peer, but yet still gain you the same net margin.
Yeah. Yes, to all of the above there. I think that that's one of the, really doing a cost benefit analysis of the areas that you're looking to go into. Yes, it might pay substantially higher going in, but are you going to be able to get return freight out of there to get yourself back out? Because man, you've been in this industry a long time, and so have I. There's a lot of rural pickups that are out there that, or deliveries where it might pay, hypothetical example here, $6 a mile going in, but you're going to have to deadhead 800 miles to get a load that pays $1 a mile to get you in to the market that you were just in. Is it really worth it at that point?
I know. And I think, most people don't really think, oh, Minnesota, I'm going to go to Minnesota. They think you're going to Minneapolis. No, you're not going to Minneapolis. Where you're going is up by Fargo, North Dakota. So what's going to happen is when you get empty, you're going to come back down to Minneapolis area to get a load. Did you factor all that in? So, and again, no matter what carrier I've been a part of or I'm consulting with, data details are significant, and understand where you're going to. Minnesota's a big state. California's a big state. Texas is a huge state, right? Where are you going? What's your backhaul opportunity? What's the velocity? And then hustle and get it, man. It's out there to be had. I think what I find the most funny about what's been going on in the industry lately is that victim complex, right? Yeah. Everybody's a victim of the market. Everybody's a victim of the down shipping patterns. Here's the reality. I'm not a sales guy, but one of the things I do for my clients is I get them hooked up with shippers directly. And it's not that they couldn't have done it on their own. They don't, right? So I make the call. I make multiple calls. We get in. And I always say, and I'm an old school guy, pick up the phone, man. Pick up the phone. Don't be afraid to dial for dollars. I got to believe that these newer brokerages that are popping up and still thriving and not laying off people, got a bunch of people in there banging out phone calls. And if you bang out enough of them, you're going to have success.
That right there is, I think, the greatest, or like the most grossest oversight of what you actually need to do, whether it's a cold call or getting out there and seeing people in person. That's the strategy that you have to go with. I mean, just even, I live out here in Arizona. That's like my whole thing, that all of my Arizona prospects, can I come and see you on site? Can I come meet you? Can I come show you that I'm a real person?
Right.
I want them to feel my industry knowledge as opposed to automating that. And I think that that's the, again, as I say, I'm a massive fan of automation, but you can't automate sales, right? Like, you can't automate that human to human interaction about what this industry really stands for. You can a portion of it, but you still need to be able to pick up the phone and dial people, because at the end of the day, when shit hits the fan, your customer needs to hear that you give a fuck and that you're working on it in those moments, and you're not getting an automated response.
110% right. And I think a lot of the fraud we're seeing in this industry as of recent year, or probably the last 2 years, is based on digitalization, right? At the end of the day, man, it's a lot easier to pull a scam on a computer than it is on a person. In the old days, when we started booking freight with brokers, we had a relationship. We had a carrier rep. They called us. They knew what we wanted. We knew what they wanted. And we could have never scammed each other, right? I'm not saying things are always perfect, but we couldn't have pulled a fast one. Today, I think that that's part of the issue. Pick up the phone, get to know your carriers. If you're a broker, if you're a carrier, get to know your broker. Understand, tell them what it is you really need. You might be calling about a load. I need a load out of A to B, but really you took 100 loads from brokers that week. You need more than A to B. Talk about the big picture of what you need, build relationships. If your relationship with the broker is like what it would be with the shipper, if you had that, have it, right? And each of you can leverage one another to create a fruitful relationship for both.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Dave, because I tell all the driver audience that listens to my show as well, is you need to vet your brokers. You need to interview your brokers, because I've never in my career received a bill of lading that doesn't have a commodity, a pickup location, a delivery location.
Right.
I've never had any of that. And then I think, like, again, fraud has always been a part of it. And it's always going to be a part of it, no matter what, right? It's about minimizing that. But I feel like at the end of the day, when you're talking to somebody, if the broker's trying to rush you off the phone, I wouldn't want to work with that individual, because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment alone going in to these locations. And, if you can't have brokers answer basic questions about a load, I don't care how much it pays on paper, air quotes
Right.
there, I would never book them on that stuff. Because again, with my team that I'm building out here, we have real conversations with our drivers. And we just booked a load this morning, and the driver's kind of like, "What? This is so odd that you're asking all these questions." And I'm like, "Well, we do this on every single load because we need to verify that everything aligns, because I don't want you deadheading 90 miles just to find out that your trailer actually doesn't work. And we could have avoided this all in the first place by having an actual conversation, talking about the expectations. Everyone's aware of it on the front end."
I agree 100%. And I think we've lost a bit of that connectivity. So it's so great to hear that you and your team do that. I know that I preach to the people out in the field every day, man. Pick up the phone, talk to someone, whether it's looking for a new opportunity or solidifying an existing. Definitely phone conversations go a long way still today.
Yeah, and that's the thing right there, is it's like everyone preaches relationships, quote unquote, when it's not in their favor, right? But they could literally be solidifying those relationships right now before the market flips.
I
They
agree.
could actually be abiding by that, because I'm not a lifestyle broker. Like, this is how I provide for my family. This is what have always done, and this is what I'm always going to do. And I know that as a broker, I have no business without carriers. And I need the right carriers for the right shipments that they need, as opposed to the ones that I want them to take for me. Because
I agree.
once you can build that cohesive, and again, it's always easier to sit back and say this stuff, right? But I apply this every single day, and we're able to identify carriers for specific lanes that they want to run that work for them, as opposed to what works best for me. And I'll sacrifice a little bit of my front short-term profits, because I know the long-term gain that comes along with this, because we live by this statement. I would rather overpay them when I don't have to, so they undercharge me when they don't have to, and kind of keep that reciprocal relationship going long term. And I know not everybody out there owns their own business and can make that decision, but it's really it's a couple of bucks, right? At the end of the day, like,
Right.
the difference between a quality and a subpar is anywhere from $75 to $200 per load.
And at the end of the day, Chris, you sleep well at night because you know you did right by your partner carriers. They've done right by you. I mean, I think what you've just described is a great carrier development philosophy that not many people have anymore, unfortunately.
Well, that's what we're doing, and that's why I know we're going to win long term, because of that. There's no doubt. I don't know if I've told you this, Dave, but like my strategy is to build the largest transportation company in North American history. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do.
I love shooting for the moon, man. That's definitely the way to go.
It's the only way. As I say all the time, no offense to C.H. Robinson, but it's my goal to make them look like a startup when I'm done. Well, hey, let's Stephen Thompson, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Sydney Thiessen, good morning to you. Josh Cushman, what's going on, man? He said Dave's the best. Sydney Thiessen, and yeah, it's Arizona. Get that Arizona sunshine out there. So the first article I want to talk about here, this one was put out on fleetowner.com the other day, and it's talking about the isolation of the road. And, I have a unique perspective of this, just, being in the industry for as long as I have, coming from a family of truck drivers, and spending time out on the road as a kid, riding along with my dad. And, it's a very real, article. It's a very real article talking about a lot of that. And you actually drove a few years for yourself. So like, what was that like out there?
I mean, like, think about it, right? So anytime you're alone, even in life, if you're not a driver, you can start to develop things in your own mind, right? You're basically talking about both sides of the story, the problem, the question. I don't have anybody to bounce that off of. So guess what? I'm now my counter narrative. So when you're in the truck by yourself, I'll give you an example. I was on a dedicated run, and let's say there's 20 trucks that run back and forth between A and B. And I'm coming into that area to pick up my A load, and I got a really important event at home this weekend. And I see one of our other company trucks that's not in my group of 20 coming out of that location. And in my mind, he automatically took my load, right? I'm going crazy here. I'm like, man, I know that guy's not in my group. He's somehow at my place. He's taking my load. I mean, so I'm developing all these things in my head. I'm going crazy. I'm trying to speed faster to get there and do things that I shouldn't be doing because I've developed this theory in my mind that my load is gone. And then, of course, lo and behold, true story. I'm going into Clearfield, Utah. Now I'm going 78 miles an hour. At the time, the speed limit wasn't 75. I get pulled over. So now I've got to go through that whole rigmarole, which puts me even further behind. So now I'm redeveloping even more theories in my mind about what's going to happen when I get there. But finally, when I get there, whatever, 2 hours later, guess what? There's my load right there. But being by myself, not talking to my dispatch, creating all these things in my mind, I felt like there was a conspiracy against me and somebody took my deal, right? Yeah. And that's just a little example, but if you think about it, it can really apply to anything in life. Anything that you're going to think and you're talking about both sides of the argument, you can convince yourself that there's an issue. And it's not only the driver, and the driver is what we're talking about today, but, you know, work from home is probably a similar scenario. I used to be around 100 people in the office. Now I'm around myself, right? And I have a couple Zoom meetings each day. I've started to develop things in my own mind. If you're a terminal location versus corporate headquarters, as a terminal guy out in the field, I always felt like I was disconnected from corporate. So you develop things in your own mind. And I got to believe, and I've talked to a lot of drivers, I talk to drivers every single day, they struggle with this on a daily basis. And one of the graphs that I saw in one of these articles he sent me really talked about that. How much of it's depression, how much of it's anxiety, how much of it's this or that. And it's really probably all self-developed, right? I think to a certain extent, and I'm not saying that issues in life aren't real, that a person can't truly be clinically depressed. Yeah. But let's think about that. You know, at the end of the day, all these things existed throughout time. We've just started to touch on them in the last few years. So people really, I might have been depressed in 1985 in high school, but I didn't know it because we didn't talk about it then. But now I have a son who's in high school and it's talk all the time at school about kids that have depression. Probably had it all along. So I think it's real. I feel for the truck driver. What I want to tell you is you have a partner in your office. That's your driver manager. That's your retention coordinator. Don't overthink both sides of things because like I did, you can convince yourself a whole lot of bullshit's going on that's not really going on.
Yeah. And this is the chart that Dave's describing here. So it's 27.9% loneliness, 26.9% depression, 20.6% chronic sleep disturbances, anxiety, 14.5%, and then other emotional problems, 13%. And that to me is one of the biggest, like, again, back to like building actual relationships and putting the human element back into the equation, you know, because I think that even about from the broker's perspective, I think that, you know, you have a couple of things go wrong and then all of a sudden you think every driver and every trucking company out there, and it's just not the case. Like in context, again, you guys, I jokingly say I've only been doing this for 3 full truckloads in total. I've been doing this job for a really long time. 98% of the carriers out there just want to work really fucking hard, do the right thing. They just want to be treated like a human being. It's just you guys all do.
Here's the reality of it too. We focused on brokerage in our first part of the discussion, but as you look at it from a driver, there's been a connectivity or disconnect between the driver manager and the driver, which is really affecting what we talk about with this loneliness. Yeah. Back in the day, in 1995, when I started and I was a dispatcher, we didn't have OmniTracks. We didn't have PeopleNet or Platform Science. We picked up the phone. We called our driver. We had to touch them at least 3 times a day via phone. We would ask him, hey, Chris, where are you at? Chris would give me the payphone number of the location he was at. Maybe it's Rock Springs, Wyoming. I put that payphone number into the system. It would tell me where he's at. That's how we checked and balanced. But it forced conversation. Today, many carriers that I see and I go to carriers every single day are texting back and forth. It was all great. The computers, TMS has got set up. You can just send them a message. There's no connectivity, right? There's no personalization here. We really need to talk. So those that have a turnover issue, I hate to say it, there's a lot of factors, right? It could be freight, could be rate, could be a lot of things. But at the end of the day, building a relationship. Here's what I would tell you. There were drivers that quit when I was their driver manager, but I always knew when they were going to quit and why they were going to quit. They didn't abandon trucks on me because we had built a bond. They respected me enough. If they had a problem at home and needed to leave the job, they brought my truck back. So many times today when I'm out in the field, I see a much higher abandonment rate. I see a much higher turnover rate than we once had. And I believe that a giant component of that is the lack of building a bond, like you said earlier, with a carrier and a broker, with a driver manager and his fleet of drivers, and with the company and with those drivers. That's what we've got to re-engage our drivers. We have to talk to them. It's Driver Appreciation Week. I'm in Chicago today. I'll be in Houston for the latter part of the week, but I'm going to be talking to drivers, and we're going to be talking about thanking them, right? We're going to talk about what can we do better for you. Thank you for the job you did. Here's some great giveaways. Help me understand what I can do to help you be better at your job. You mentioned it, Chris. They all want to do a good job. Why would you not want to, right? I'm a driver. I want to pick up. I want to deliver on time so I can get my next load. I want to do the right thing. I want to be safe and courteous to the motoring public, etc.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of what you're saying there is it seems like when I was trained to do this job, how we were trained to do it now is like way above and beyond what is even being done out there, right? Because I look at it like this, and again, I can only speak for my team, my organization, and that's it. But like, we're out there looking ahead, right? We're asking our drivers, hey, have you delivered into this area before? We're not giving out directions, but we're like, hey, there's a truck stop 5 miles down the road or 15 miles down the road. If you need a spot to stop for the night, we're calling these facilities ahead. Is there on-site parking? Is there not on-site parking? Stuff like that. We're going above and beyond, which today is a standard procedure inside of my organization, but that's going above and beyond out there because I'm behind a computer all day long. What do you need me to do? It takes me 3 seconds to Google something to find that stuff out because I feel like the driver appreciation factor of things needs to be how do we improve the industry, right? Because like the retention of this industry is the biggest issue that's out there. And what more can we do for the driver community to make them feel more appreciated? Because, you were talking about a sales force right there. Your drivers are your greatest sales force.
Right.
If they feel like they're being taken care of, how do you think they're going to walk into that shipper or receiving location? What do you think that's going to happen? That transportation manager or traffic manager at one of those facilities and be like, man, I like Dave's drivers better than everybody else. I wonder if Dave can handle more freight for us. Right. It all comes back to that.
Yep. I think, and then you mentioned that's the circle of life, right?
Yeah.
Everything we do every day has a cause and effect. And our drivers going in, to your point, to that shipping location. And true story, again, this week at this carrier, I saw a lead come back from a guy who made a delivery. That lead turned into fruit, right? Not only did we just do a few one-off loads for this direct ship customer, but now we've got opportunities to get into some better stuff based on his interaction. Now, he'd been in there 2 or 3 times, but his interaction, the happiness that he portrayed out to them, they're thinking to themselves, man, that's probably a great company. Let me reach out. He actually made the contact. And again, why not? If you're a small carrier and you got 50 drivers, that's 50 sales guys. If you're a large carrier and you got 5,000 trucks, that's 5,000 sales per people. It's a great thing to have. Let's leverage all of our assets.
Yeah, because it's like even on top of that, talking about it, because, a lot of brokers out there, they work with the smaller fleets, right? Mm-hmm. You get those guys consistent freight enough, they turn into a sales rep for you because they're like, hey, if I'm moving Phoenix to Albuquerque, I pick up out of this place in Albuquerque to get back into Phoenix all the time. They move about 10 loads a day. I know the transportation manager over there. You should give them a call. And they do that more times than not because, again, they would rather work with you in every possible way that they can. And then they want to help you as well as a business owner. And it takes, like, you can't selectively do this stuff though, right? Like you have to abide by this 24/7, 365. You have to set higher standards for yourself and anybody who works with you. Because again, as a broker, from my perspective, I got to win over carriers and customers, right? I need that because I'm still waiting for a broker to come to me with a business plan that shows how to make money without trucks. I haven't that happened yet, but it's the truth though. Carriers and customers are 1A and 1B of importance to me. You can, it's the chicken and the egg mentality. You can spin it in either direction. But I think like, I just want as a business owner, I want the overwhelming majority of the responses from our carrier partners to be like, at least they give a shit about us. Right? They answer the call when there's something wrong. If there's a delay or something that we know they're fighting for us out there to get us in and out.
100%. I mean, The reality of it is, I think we've, as an industry, things got so fast paced for the last few years. We sort of lost track on the core, right? Let's get back to the basics. We're in a down market. Quit crying about the fact you can't get freight and get it. It's out there, right? I mean, I love it when people play that victim card in a down market. In a down market, that's when we love to go out and seek new opportunities. Unfortunately, probably because everybody's looking for a new opportunity because the shipper just came off of 2 years of considerable overspending and now they want to underspend. But then let me get in. Even if I'm getting in at a slightly less than market rate, I'm going to show you who we are. I'm going to show you we pick up, we deliver better than our peer group. I'm going to show you that we communicate better. And then when the markets turn, you're going to see that value prop and you're going to take care of me. Like Chris mentioned earlier, he takes care of his carrier takes care of him. Same logic with the shipper, same logic with the driver manager. You take care of your drivers that are assigned to you, those drivers will take care of you. No driver manager wants to walk into a giant service failure in the morning. So build a relationship with that driver so that he doesn't fail, or that if he does, because there's a time where he's going to break down, but he's going to communicate because you've instilled in him the importance of communication, him or her. I think, there's so many things that we could do as an industry to make stronger relationships with the drivers. And again, back to our topic of drivers feeling alone, and that's part of it, right? Even me or you, Chris, if you travel, I'm in a hotel every night by myself, right? I mean, I could get to that stage where I feel alone, right? I could get to that stage where I overthink things. But luckily I get to see people during the day. So during the day, driver managers, you are that conduit for your driver. Some days you're their psychologist. Some days you're their buddy. Talk to them learn about them. Like I have a form that we fill out that we talk about, what does a driver expect? And not only what does he expect from your company, but a little bit about him. If he has kids that play football, talk to him about football on Monday morning. Ask him how his son or daughter did at football or soccer on Saturday. Build a relationship with your drivers. It will pay in the long run.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I think that, it seems as simple as what we're describing right here, because it probably
really is, right?
At the end of the day, right? And, this is a good article. This was from Bill. I don't know if you were asking about this, but it's fleetowner.com is the name of that. And I'll put the link to the article up on the YouTube channel and the audio only replay on iTunes and Spotify, but it's the isolation of the road. And, again, I think that really just bringing the human factor back into a digital world will go a very long way because, a lot, at least in my experience, it's like, drivers for the most part are real salt of the earth individuals. And, again, respect goes a long way. And I was talking about this yesterday, especially where it's like, thanking somebody for their efforts stands out a lot, and it shouldn't, right? Like, and that goes to your grocery store clerk, your trash man, warehouse dock workers, whomever. It goes a long way, and we've gotten away from that. We've gotten really far away from that, and we got to bring that shit back to front and center about just respecting other people. I think that's step one in rightening this ship.
I agree 100%. Even back to the handshake, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we did away with the handshakes during COVID, the introductions, the personal relationship. And that's a simple little thing. And I don't care if you really ever shake anyone's hand, but somehow you got to bond with somebody. And that was always a great way to do it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. That's how I'm raising my son. My son's 12 years old. If he meets somebody for the first time and every time he sees him, he shakes their hand, he looks him in the eye and introduces himself. It's just the way it is in my household. Just getting back to those, values. And, and I think that if that's where, we can start, and then all of these other ancillary issues that are out there, they'll get fixed as well. But I think like that, actually appreciating the efforts of everyone throughout the year and not just regulating it to a week, because I think that's the stuff that like lets me down the most. Is it's like, you're just doing this stuff once a year, like you do one barbecue. Like, what about the 51 other weeks out of the year? Like, there's nothing that goes along alongside of it. And again, it's not like anybody needs a parade, but I think like your entire team should feel appreciated by you as an organization, because
every single day,
I don't know how you can run an organization without your team. I don't know.
100%. The organization I'm at today, I see their COO every single morning come out fist bump every employee and just say hello, thank you, how you doing? It's a great thing. Same thing with our drivers. And I think we lose a little bit of that connectivity because they're out on the road. So that can come in the form of a phone call, or even if you are going to text them, man, great job. See, you're on time. Thanks for all you do. Got you dialed in on a pre-plan. Let's reconnect, whether it be with a broker, whether it be with a carrier, whether it be with a driver within your own organization or a shipper. Let's reconnect and let's be in this to win it for everyone, right? There's enough freight to go around. We don't have to fight each other over it. There's enough things there's enough of everything. The driver shortage, is it or is it not? I mean, perhaps not. I think it's a shortage of wage. It's a shortage of connectivity. It's a shortage of a lot of things. Let's pull together and let's be on the same team and let's win this as the transportation industry.
I love it, man. Dave, how does anybody, we're already at the 30-minute mark here. How does anybody reach out to you? How does anybody get in contact to find out more?
So you can just email me at dave@threesonsinvestments.com, or you can hit me on LinkedIn. I love talking to people. You don't have to retain my services to get information off me because I love what I do. I originally went to college to be a school teacher. And now at this point in my career, after I'm done with the corporate life and I get to consult for people, that's really what I'm doing is I'm educating people and I'm having fun while doing it. And I think if you were to ask my clients, they'd tell you that the guy loves what he does and we love having him here. The problem is I don't have enough of me to go around, so I'm pretty busy. So sometimes if I don't respond to you immediately, don't take that as I'm not interested. I'll get back with you at some point and love to talk to you and just learn a little bit about what you do.
Perfect, man. I love it. And as always, if you guys can't find him out there, just get in contact with me. I'll put you guys in direct contact with Dave. But that's going to be it for today. As always, you guys, if you guys got value, subscribe to the show. Share it out there to your network, because if you see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.